Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track.
And the fact that the ratings haven't really reflected how good the show is, and obviously ticket sales outside. Well, I mean, Bischoff didn't want to mention the last 2 weeks of ticket sales. He only wants to mention last night's show, of course, when he's arguing with Tony Khan.
Because it fits his narrative. And I'm so sorry that John Alba lost his job. I know we have to pretend like I just said I'm not going to do this, but I just really don't like that guy because he tried to shit on you publicly.
Hey, it's in the show title. We're going for it, brother. We're going for it.
I don't like him. And I know I've got a friend of ours that is listening to this who was very nice to him publicly, but I don't like this dude, man. I just don't. I think he's smarmy. I think anyone that gives Eric Bischoff space to spread lies is a dangerous human being who is willfully stupid. And the fact that your show is no longer a thing, I'm not going to shed tears for you, bro, because, you kind of empower stupid people, and I don't like it. So,
yeah,
too bad.
So, here's what JD's talking about. So John Alba, who's a guy that came after me, and so
fucker.
Yeah, he tried to come after me. He tried to get my attention. It just didn't work. So.
I know it pissed me off way more than it pissed you off. So
yeah. And he comes across as such a pretentious dickbag. And I know I give him credit when he goes to the press conferences, because here's another reason why I'm disappointed in him, because he's actually like a trained, like media professional. He's like a trained journalist. And so
which is why what he does is so bad.
Yes. So like we hold him to a little bit of a higher standard, right? Because like he's worked real sports media, and here he is with this dickhead, Eric Bischoff, who is about as grifty as they can get. He has an entire podcast dedicated to try to undercut Tony Khan and insult Tony Khan's business, when he is one of the biggest failures in the history of pro wrestling. Like he failed in WCW, he succeeded for a little bit. The bigger chunk of that time was a massive failure, right? And I know we just got done saying like, hey, failure is okay. You got to take the swings. But this guy, like, he's failing at a high level, and he just doesn't seem to be accountable for it. Doesn't appear to learn anything. And he wants to tell everybody else how they're failing, and that's how he's trying to live the rest of his life.
Oh, I hate it so much.
So he has this podcast with the dickhead, John Alba, called Strictly Business. Well, John Alba announces that the show is going off the air, right? So Tony Khan said sunsetting this fraud of a business podcast before the next AEW media deal is a wise choice. And I thought that was, we have a segment on here called Bad Tweets. Well, Tony Khan, this is the debut edition of Good Tweets, sir. Kudos to you. Good tweets. Tony Khan, you just created a new segment on the Mike and JD Show. I thought that was a wonderful tweet. Now, it gets even funnier, because then after this, like, I think like a day later, Eric Bischoff then announces that he is no longer doing the podcast with John Alba. He's doing a new podcast called Wise Choices, which means John Alba just got fired. Like, it wasn't like he said, oh, Bischoff doesn't have the time to do the podcast anymore. It's like, no, he just doesn't want to do it with you. He's doing a different podcast, and you got fired. So like, you weren't even good enough to do a podcast with Eric Bischoff.
I fucking hate that guy. Just like he's so smarmy. Like, and again, he was the one guy that, like, when we were having a little bit of fun, as our Voices of Wrestling crew was having a little bit of fun when Nick Khan told everybody to go tweet something, because we never got denials that happened. We just got, well, I didn't get told to do that. Oh, but you're not denying that somebody was. Sure. And again, it's like, you got your own thing, you got your own business, whatever. Like, even that guy that's just the nerd who just, I forget the super pro WWE nerd, Steve something or other, like, whatever, he's doing his own thing. When you willfully empower liars and grifters, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And I'll call you out for it. I don't like you. And I don't like, and you get upset when people call you out for being a grifter. Sorry, bro. You grift.
Yeah.
And you got fired from grifting. You weren't even good at grifting.
Like how bad you have to be to get fired from grifting? Like you're not grifting enough. Like
You're not grifting enough. Controversy creates cash, but not enough controversy and not enough cash.
hey, so somebody said this in the BFI chat earlier. Said I think it might have been Dobby.
I should get
Dobby
back
said
in
this. Yeah, Dobby said nobody keeps his haters in business better than Tony Khan, because Tony Khan replied to that tweet, and the next thing you know, Eric Bischoff has a brand new show where he's just going to continue to try to lay into Tony Khan anytime they take a dip in the ratings, which is the first thing he did was point out that they hit their like the lowest rating in like 3 years, which I mean that sucks. Like no, that's not good for anybody, right? But
they did a shit night, but it was number 3.
Number 3. Yeah.
It was number 3. Like,
yeah.
I mean, ratings are, I mean, like we said this before on the show 100 times. The ratings are going to continue to go down for everything on television. That's not live sports. It's gonna.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Everything is dull.
Yeah. Not a good night for AEW, but like they're not getting kicked off the air. so it's like we don't need to like go crazy about it. But
you mean like WCW? You mean like when WCW got kicked off the air?
Like when they got canceled they remain, I think, the only company in history to get canceled by a television station that owned them. Like how bad do you have to be, right? Like Anthem had the opportunity to sell TNA for a dollar figure amount that was probably way more than what it was worth, and they said no. But WCW sold their company, or TNT sold, or Turner, whatever, sold WCW for like $2.5 million.
Do you remember when AOL Turner Time Warner allowed Eric Bischoff to think he was going to be able to buy WCW just so they could leverage Vince into a better deal? Because I remember that.
Well, I would say genius, but the valuation of WCW like 2 years before they actually sold it was like 75 million or something like that. It was pretty crazy.
They sold it for like $1 million. It was like $3 million, something stupid like that.
We did. Hey, go to folks, go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. We did a whole podcast series about the WCW invasion of the WWF in 2001, and I think it's one of my favorite things that we've ever done, where we actually pulled out like data and quotes and stuff from the Nitro book and the death of WCW, and I actually went through the Observers from 2001. It was really good stuff.
You want to hear something funny, Mike? Remember a few months ago I told you I got interviewed by Guy Evans, the guy who wrote the Nitro book?
Yeah, about Randy Savage, right? I
interviewed about Randy Savage. I found out what book it's. It's going to be a book co-written by Eric Bischoff.
Are you shitting me? Well, you know what's so funny is that Guy Evans was a major sponsor of Eric Bischoff's podcast, because I actually liked 83 Weeks before he like went super anti-Dave, anti-AEW. Like before that, it was actually like, I enjoyed listening to him talk about that time, because that's like my childhood, right?
Yeah, me too. All the Conrad shows are great until they try to be like Bruce Pritchard. And eventually they all try to be Bruce Pritchard.
And the thing is that none of them have the chops.
No.
And like, and after a while, like Bruce Pritchard got old to me, but
me too. I haven't listened.
Yeah. Like his first like year and a half, I love that show because he's just a good storyteller. He does voices, which I happen to enjoy, and he tells dirty jokes. So I was like, okay, I don't care that he's lying. He at least is funny. So I was fine with it. But then after a while, it got to be formulaic, and it's like Conrad would always steer him into saying something about Dave Meltzer. It's like, okay, like
because Conrad likes selling T-shirts, and I get it. It's how he makes money. But I mean, like at some point, it's like everyone knows Bruce Pritchard's a liar, but you got some of these dumb actually Gen Xers, dumb Gen Xers that just like think, well, he was there. Like it's the same kind of people that just like worship Vince McMahon and just think that I don't know, man. Willful ignorance infuriates me. Yeah.
All right, guys, we have a ton of people in the chat, and I have not gotten to any of them.
Sorry.
Hey, guys in the chat, we have super chats available now too, by the way. $2. So if you're not Patreon subscribers, you want to support the show, feel free to drop a super chat. That would help JD and I stay in business. I'd really appreciate it.
We have super chats? Yeah.
We do have super chats available.
We should be pushing those more frequently.
I keep forgetting.
We suck at this, man.
I know. Let's see. So David says, talking about AEW, likely if there was a good smaller arena in the area, Quebec City, last night they would have looked the way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to a Collision in Peoria in a couple weeks. Peoria is small arena, like it should be a decent show down there.
Yeah. Name cannot be blank says no Rougeau. I think he's trying to say Rougeau.
Rougeau,
no Rougeau, no Vachons. I think the Vachons are all dead. No Dino Bravo, also dead.
Also dead.
No chance in Quebec. You know who is alive and well? I've been seeing him on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. Rick fucking Martel, baby. Rick Martel. Now, there is a rumor, and I don't know if this is true or not. I probably shouldn't even say this. There's a rumor that TNA Slammiversary might be in Montreal. And if it's in Montreal this year, if Anthony Chon does not make this happen, where he has Rick Martel escorting one Speedball Bailey down the ramp to go for the X Division title against Mustafa Ali, then they will have completely failed sell the company. I'm booking it now. And then of course, like Jacques Rougeau is still alive and PCO is in the company. What the Quebecers are right there. Bring them in. All right. So sorry, that's my little TNA rant.
To be fair, if you're gonna bring in Jacques Rougeau as a Quebecer, I want him to be an undead Quebecer.
Yes,
I want him to be like the corpse of the mob team, so he can stand next to PCO because it's way funnier that way.
Yeah. And John Muse is in the chat. He says AEW has to build and follow a plan, do their thing. Yeah, just worry about AEW shit.
Listen to John Muse.
IO Productions. So he's talking about Becky Lynch. He said it was a huge endorsement, and that's what I take it as. Absolutely. But you're a reasonable person. Yeah, you're just a reasonable
smart
guy. Yeah. John Muse says you go out to go back to All Out 2021. It was not CM Punk alone. Multiple factors were involved.
Oh yeah. Them roots was rotten at the time.
Yeah. So name cannot be blank said the bad faith actors, Cornette and Bischoff types greatly limit AEW's growth, whether we want to admit it or not. There is a small segment of the audience that will refuse to watch them because they would rather listen to Cornette and Bischoff. I think actually Joe Lanza was the first one I ever heard point that out. He said, like, whether we like it or not, like they do have a negative impact on the television show. But I don't think they're actively getting people to go to watch Raw or anything like that. I think they're just actively saying, "Oh, AEW is so bad, you shouldn't watch it." Right. So,